So hello and welcome to the My Hero Academia podcast. This is episode 70. My name is Sophie and with me here today is James.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. And we also have Gary.
I am here.
We didn't think you were going to join us, so we're glad you could make it on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Both responses were great. So there's only one bit of news really, but I'm pretty shocked at this news. So season 4 is going to come out on Blu-ray and DVD in Japan, January 22nd. That's really quick. I know it's the end of January, but still, I'm quite impressed by that.
Yeah, it's real crazy. A lot of the like anime in Japan, like they'll come out with their volume 1 stuff like really quick on Blu-ray and DVDs and stuff. But it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. There's no date on when it's coming out for the rest of the world, but when we know, we'll let you know.
Probably be another year for us. We just got season 3 part 2 a couple months back.
Yeah. The only other bit of news is that the Heroes Rising for the next film is going to collaborate with the Sky Circus in, I'm not gonna pronounce this well, Ikebukuro, Tokyo, for a special exhibition. So if you are there between November the 8th and December the 29th of this year, you could go see that if you wanted to.
I better go book my flight right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this week we're going to be running through anime episode 65 as well as manga chapter 247. So for anime only listeners, anime is going first and it will be spoiler free, so you can watch it safely without being spoiled by the manga.
I was gonna say we forgot to talk about Horikoshi's comment for this week's issue.
Oh yeah, Horikoshi's awful comment saying that his schedule has gotten unbelievably plus ultra.
Yay.
I don't even know what that means, but whatever.
I don't know either. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
Oh no, he did. He sent who's the actor for Spider-Man? He sent him a
Tom Holland?
Yeah, he sent him some art and a signature last year, didn't he? And then he got to be on. He went to the Comic-Con panel, and then that was also the year when he had his first film. So if he's saying that now his schedule is getting plus ultra, I hope he's looking after his health.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big year to follow, isn't it? If you think about it.
It is.
Yeah. I hope he's looking after himself more than Oda, just staying in his study and smoking and drinking, occasionally leaving the house.
Sleeping 3 hours a day.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, on an optimistic note, let's start for the anime review. This is anime episode 65.
Episode 65 is titled Overhaul. Gee, I wonder what that is about, you know?
No spoilers. Okay, go on.
No spoilers, but anyways. So with this episode, we start off with Deku's explaining about the Hero Society and stuff. It's kind of the same thing as last week's episode before the opening starts, but instead we get a little bit of what happened last episode where he calls Gran Torino. And Gran Torino will say, "Hey, can I join your agency for the work study?" And Gran Torino was basically like, "Who is this again?" Yeah, and then we start the opening that way.
Yeah, and then before that he calls him, doesn't he call him that huge disappointment? And he's like, yeah, I know I am, but I want to do better.
Yeah, he called him useless.
Yeah, he called him useless. He's like, you're the one that failed that the sports festival.
Aw, I felt bad. But,
Yeah, I did. I was like, what a jerk. But yeah, so after we get the opening, we enter with Overhaul talking about how much he hates the dust in the area, and Twice makes a comment too about saying it's been making everybody sick.
Oh, I liked that he didn't say it made everyone sick. He said, yeah, those guys have been sick for a while. And when I read that in the manga before, I was like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah. But he gets to Overhaul explains that he's from the Shihasekai.
Yeah.
To the League of Villains that are all hanging out in the dusty warehouse.
I like that he said he's what you would call Yakuza. I mean, they don't have a different word for gangster or anything, so why didn't you just say he's Yakuza, not he's what you would call Yakuza?
I have no idea.
It reminded me of very few people have probably watched it, but there's like a comedy series by a woman called Miranda in the UK, and her mum does this thing where she'll say like it was what you would call a Monday, and she's like everyone calls it a Monday, mum. And it made me think of that, which is very different.
Wow. Overhaul was sort of introducing himself. I really like the background music in that. It had like a little hip hop feel to it.
Yeah, it was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was also like I was gonna say towards the end there was also some other music that just sounded like Lupin music or something, like from Lupin the Third.
Was that like the opera-y one? Like
No,
that sounded like All for One's theme.
it was the one that was right before they go in to introduce Night Eye.
Okay.
There's like a little violin motif that sounds almost exactly the same as the same violin motif in Lupin the Third.
Okay.
I don't know, just something. But anyways, instead of jumping around timelines of the story, we go to we get Mr. Compress's story time about the Yakuza, if I remember.
Yes.
Talking about how All Might showed up and basically ended that kind of era to it. And Overhaul talks more about, One for All being defeated other than the other way around, because he's saying that both the light and the shadow are leaderless, and he wonders who's going to step up. And then Shigaraki gets pretty upset, and he's like, I'm going to be the next leader. What are you talking about?
This is the bit that, when I was watching it, it made me think about if there's something I'd missed. So we're not going to talk about spoilers, but I don't think there's anything we have missed. When Overall was telling his story, and he was saying that that like people his age had never seen or heard of All for One, and they thought he was just kind of like a myth. Mm-hmm. The big fight between All for One and All Might that like took out his like half his stomach and one of his lungs, that supposedly happened, I think it was 8 years before he met Izuku, isn't it? So he must have been, All for One must have been around 8 years ago. And we don't know Overhaul's age, but he's got to be older than, I'm guessing he's around 25, 26. Mm-hmm. So you'd think he wouldn't, Joey, from just 8 years ago, he wouldn't have that sort of like myth status already, unless he was really laying in wait doing secret stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if I remember right, All Might talks about that fight as being like out of the public eye, so like not many people knew about it, and that he had gotten injured so gravely. So I don't know. I think it's.
Well, wasn't that one shot though from where he picks up the people from the rubble? Wasn't that part of that fight? Yeah, like from the very first episode. That's the same clip that Deku watches and a lot of people watch. And I thought that was that fight with the All for One, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I know the fight, but I don't remember All for One being involved. But I could be wrong on that. I don't remember that part of it.
Yeah, because we don't see All for One involved, but we know that clip is the clip that catapulted him into like Japanese, like their eyesight right at the top. Yeah. So that's maybe that was the one. But for 8 years to become the symbol of peace over those, no, that can't have been the big fight.
I don't know. I always see maybe it as that. That might be. I don't know. I can't remember. I just remember seeing that clip a lot and thinking, I thought that was the one. I know it was mentioned somewhere, but
yeah, if it was, that seems a bit dubious to me, because he must have then got. Did he get the symbol of peace status from that, or was it like a few years after? Because then if it was like a year or so after, he would have only kept that status for like 7 years or so. I know it's a long period of time, but if you think about it, it's not really in the span of a lifetime, 7 years.
Right.
Yeah, and then the way they talk about the Yakuza and stuff, how basically saying that All Might kind of, well, I mean, he wasn't, he was sort of responsible for ending that kind of stuff, because then, it's just that there was no more use for the Yakuza.
Yeah, I think it was like it partially mentioned that like superheroes in general, it was really dying out, and then when All Might came, then it was like pretty much completely dead.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my side rail thoughts.
Okay. But yeah, we get, after Overhaul telling them that, who's going to step up to be the leaders to the light and the shadows, Shige's the one that gets sort of offended. He's just proclaiming that he's going to be the next leader. He talks about how he's going to gather troops, or he's been gathering troops, his numbers increasing, and he's saying, like, I'll turn the Hero Society to dust. And then
He says in some crappy warehouse.
Yes, in a very dusty warehouse. But overall, basically, shit's all over that. And he's telling him that he wants to be the new leader because he's got like talking about how Shiggy doesn't even have a plan to get all this stuff started out, and it just sounds like he makes the League of Villains sound really amateurish when they were trying to talk themselves up.
And he has a really great line. He says that a dream. Oh, he says that a goal is only a dream if you don't have a plan, or something along those lines, which I think is great. Oh no, yeah, a dream. Oh, I don't know. It was something like a dream is only a wish if you don't have a plan. Like Shigaraki wants all this stuff, but he doesn't have any idea of how he's gonna get it. So
Yeah,
he's
and
not
he
really
kind of
doing anything.
Yeah, and he kind of logic lords around him, telling like, oh, well, you had Muscular, you had what was the guy with the teeth for knives?
Moonfish.
Yeah,
Moonfish, yeah.
Moonfish, and who else? I think that's it.
Stain in the beginning.
Yeah, and Stain in the beginning was in that clip too. And then we get something that's pretty. Well, we get Shiggy's kind of like, twice. Don't bring in people before checking their intent, because Overhaul was basically saying, I want to take over this show.
Did you
But-
think that Twice's reaction to that was a bit much? Like, when Shigaraki tells him off twice in this episode, and each time he looks like he's pooping himself.
Yeah, he did, and
Well, yeah, but Shigaraki could disintegrate him. I don't know. He looked like he was made a major mistake, and he recognized it. You know what I mean? And thought he was gonna get scolded at least.
yeah, but yeah, Overhaul interjects and says, "Become, work under me, and and I'll show you how we can achieve our goals." And Magne is the one that gets pretty offended here, and he comes flying out with his giant. I guess it's just a giant magnet that he's got, and he pulls in Overhaul, or she. I'm sorry, she pulls in Overhaul, and she talks about her friend that she said, where is it at? She said something about those who are bound by the chains of society laugh at those who aren't. I believe that was it.
Yeah. Pretty good line.
Yeah. I wonder if her friend knows that she's dead. I always wondered that.
Spoiler! She dies!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, crap. Cut that out.
Well, yeah, we'll edit that around.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, too, like, an interesting thing that was different between the Japanese and the English was that in the Japanese, Big Sis Meg quoted her friend, and then in the English, it like a voice actor plays her friend.
Yeah, that's the difference that I'm seeing on here.
I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that was the quote, right? That that she said that she couldn't break those bonds or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to see if that was it. Yeah, and then and then Magna goes in for the attack, and you see Overhaul kind of scratch her on her face, and then she goes out in a big way. Yeah, rest in peace, Magna.
Yeah, the whole top half just explodes. And I feel like they showed Magne's personality. They showcased it so well before this obliteration. I know why they did it, obviously, to really hit it home, because before that, people were kind of just like, Magne. You start to like her, she blows up.
This death made her really, it made her more impactful. And then after the stuff she said about those who are bound by the chains of society stuff.
I'm kind of curious on how people who are anime only reacted to that death, because, well, I remember when I read the manga, it was kind of out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it, so it's probably.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't have as a big of an impact towards me in the manga, honestly. This felt a little impactful. I think just because of that scene, the little flashback felt. Because I mean, when you're reading it to panels, it's just people would sometimes if they read it too fast, they really don't get the impact of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But with the episode, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
with
that was
it being
pretty shocking, honestly, the way it looked.
because it was kind of one panel, like in the manga, like pop, it's kind of over and they react to it. But like the thing I did, it was pretty gory there in the anime, and they like made it not red blood, like it was really light, and then it was dark, just kind of like art style wise, and then it started like raining down. So that made it really impactful. Like,
Yeah, and we see the rest of the gang start going in on Overhaul, and we see it looks like one of those little it's just like a little needle. It just looks like it goes into Mr. Why is I gonna call him Mr. Creepins? Oh my God, Mr. Compress's arm. And all of a sudden he's like, my quirk's not working, and he loses an arm with when Overhaul touches his arm. So that arm's gone.
So that arm's gone.
Yeah.
Wave it goodbye with your other hand.
Oh, yeah, you can't wait. Maybe there's that bonus hand. No, I'm just kidding.
Tomura tried to warn him off too, but Compress acted anyway.
Yep. Cost him an arm. Hopefully it doesn't cost him a leg next time.
Ooh.
But after that happens, we see that Shiggy rushes in, and we see that same needle gets shot out somewhere, and that needle actually misses, and Overhaul kind of notices, like, oh, crap. So he calls in a human shield, which I thought was really a weak move. But he calls in a human shield, and Shigaraki's the one that kind of, obliterates that. I don't know. He doesn't have a name. He's just a shield.
That's what could have been if Kirishima had become a villain. His quirk just being used as a human shield.
I mean, that needle, yeah. But, yeah. Then we get, I guess it's sort of a stalemate kind of thing now.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say on that part too is like when Shiggy disintegrates the human shield guy. In the manga, that was more gory than this was. They kind of edited it back a little bit because you saw him like falling apart, and then the gory bits like melting, and it's there, but it's kind of like covered, like kind of in the background, and it's more like the gray wither first, and then there's a little bit of a carcass left.
Yeah, I was just like, it kind of looked like a little bit less gory, how you said, because it seemed more cartoonish, I guess I would say, because it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. They had to like counterbalance the Big Sis Mag, I think a little bit, because that would be a little much if they had like two really gory deaths right in a row.
Yeah, and we see that Overhaul's troop comes in they bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you see one of I don't know who that is, but one of the from his group, they have a gun. He was talking about how he missed with Shigaraki, but they were able to figure out the effectiveness. We don't know the effectiveness of what. Yeah, they're wondering what that is about. And Overhaul kind of tries to tell Shiggy that we're sort of even now since, I killed one of your guys and you killed one of my guys. He says, oh, well, I still owe you an arm.
Yeah. I like that he's not giving up on them. He says, I think it was 2 or 3 times as he's leaving, like, you need to give us a call. Let's not leave it here. Cool off and let us know. Like, I owe you an arm. So he's still pretty... He doesn't seem phased at all. None of them seem phased that they've lost someone. Like, all of our villain guys are notably, like, shook up. But Overhaul's side don't seem to bat an eyelid. Like, I don't think they don't even pick up their shield man to take him with them, I don't think. Unless I've forgotten that bit.
I don't think they picked him up.
No, they just like left his, I don't know, rotting corpse. I don't know. His...
disintegrated
corpse. Disintegrated corpse. Thank you for that word.
I was trying to think. I was like, wait, is his power? What's his power again? No. But yeah, and Toga's like, not Tomura, God, Toga. Sorry, Toga's like, can I cut him, please?
Oh, she is glass half full, thinking that she can do anything to them.
I know, with a knife, with the kitchen knife, mind you.
But you can see she's really affected by Big Sis Meg's death.
She was just devastated. But yeah, they're just talking about it. And he kind of just tosses his card towards Tomer. Like, here's my card. Call me when you're calmed down a bit. And then after that, they're gonna take Mr. Compress to the doctor, I guess. Well, probably Dr. Eggman, I'm assuming. And we do get a little bit of a shot of Toga looking at the magnet that Big Sis Meg had, and she's kind of like still complicating about, you should have let me cut him. But yeah, like you could tell it really affected her.
I don't know what doctor they'd take him to, no spoilers. But no, seriously, what doctor at this point would they have taken him to? They don't have a doctor with them. They're in the middle of a warehouse, so that's got to be pretty far from any, like, A&E. Oh, there must be an underworld, black market, surgical market. There has to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the Dr. Nick Riviera, but I don't know if y'all watch The Simpsons. So.
Oh, no.
Dr. Nick is my homeboy.
Yeah, he's kind of a hackneyed doctor on The Simpsons.
I want to find out more about these, like, underground black market doctors.
Right.
What turned them? Why do they now work for crime?
Money.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I can think of, because, I mean, that's pretty messed up. Anyways.
Hopefully not for pointers for your career. Anyway.
Yeah, we cut to the prison. It's Tartarus, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have off for one talking, and trying to see what he's saying.
He's saying that he says that Shigaraki doesn't need to worry. He's like, oh no, you messed up. You don't need to worry about messing up, because that's why I'm here to help you along your journey. It doesn't matter if you messed up. I will guide you.
Thank you. And we do get a weird what are those called? The little shots that go in between the episode.
Right. The
flashcards?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
There's an official name, I just don't remember. But yeah, we get Shiggy's little flashcard. No, was it twice or Shiggy's?
It's twice.
It's twice's, right? And then Shiggy's, yeah. But after that, we cut to Class 1A all of a sudden, and Aizawa's over there explaining the work studies, and what they are. And then he goes around and says they should be canceled. And what's funny is Bakugo is super happy about hearing that.
He's such a little crap.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And then Hagakure is like, well, that's just because you wouldn't have been able to do it because you failed the provisional license exam.
Yeah.
So she calls him out at least.
Yeah, and then Aizawa says, but we're still going to do it. And then he gets mad. He's like, damn it.
I think that was one of the first few times we've seen him smile that isn't like, his creepy, I'm going to fight you and win smile. That was just a genuine Murph smile. And it was for such a pooey reason.
Yeah, it was really dumb. I was just like, wow, man. But yeah, they find out that they're going to do it anyways. And Deku decides to go to All Might, and Deku's just being really loud. And you see All Might's like, shh. And you see, I guess that's the teacher's office. And you see Midnight and Ectoplasm. And Midnight says, well, you're energetic. And Ectoplasm, for some reason, it says, I want a karaoke, which I thought was weird. Did that say anything like that in the sub, Gary?
Yeah, it was the same thing.
Okay.
But we know that Ectoplasm loves karaoke, because when he goes to karaoke, he can produce, I think it's like 2 times the amount of clones as he can do before, because it pumps him up so much. And they were impressed by how pumped up Mizuria was. So that's, I think, why Ectoplasm wanted to go karaoke.
I was wondering why he said that. Like, I was like, what? But that makes more sense now.
Like, he should incorporate karaoke in his fighting, so he gets so pumped up that he makes more clones. That would be really cool.
I think it would be funny because in his head he'd be thinking he's singing real great, and then you see from the villain's perspective you just see him singing really off key, and you just see a bunch more clones coming out.
Yeah, they're just freaking out while he's partying.
doing?
What song do you think would be a good song to be singing while you're fighting? Eye of the Tiger seems like the obvious choice. But
I
I
don't know why I
also
thought
like
about.
if he goes like proper Gloria Gaynor with "I will survive."
I was gonna do the Celine Dion thing, and
What while he sings at the villains?
that'd be
That
so
would be.
awesome.
I was thinking, I think I'm a clone now. The Weird Al version of I Think I'm Alone Now. That would be a good one.
Double Vision would be a good one too.
Submit them to our Twitter if you have any ideas for what song he'd sing.
But we cut back to All Might is actually just refuses to help Deku out right here, but not for the reasons you think. He says that he lists 3 reasons. He's like, my first reason is I was against work studies for the first years to begin with, and the teachers kind of give contradictory input about that. I didn't have a chance to write that down about what Midnight and Ectoplasm said.
Oh, I love their input. So
I
Ectoplasm's like, they're working hard. Why give them extra stress? And Midnight's like, hey, if they want to do it, why don't we let their youth shine or something?
Yeah. And the second reason he lists that, the shoot style needs more work. And then you do get Cementos and who was the other one that was on that side?
Ectoplasm.
Was it Ectoplasm again?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they put their input on there. And I don't know what the input was that they said though.
So I was surprised that Cementos was like, he was pretty for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. I thought
was it?
Ectoplasm thought he needed the training, and Cementos was saying, well, how he hurts himself, so it might not be a good idea.
Oh, I thought Cementos. I thought Ectoplasm was saying it's not a good idea because he's still got like a long way to go, and Cementos was like, oh, he could fight it out in the field, but who knows?
Well, it was one of the two.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah,
One of
but
the two said something.
I just like how they were both just giving their input while All Might was trying to explain things. And the third reason is kind of a crap shot. He's just like, it's personal. And then that's where you get Present Mike. He butts in, he goes, emo Mike.
He does tell him though, doesn't he? He says that it's personal, but he can't go to Sir Night-Eye because everything that Sir Night-Eye said would happen came true. So he gives him more insight than I thought he would do.
Yeah, but yeah, that's that reason. But I think he mentions Mirio. I don't know if he mentions Mirio before he calls him in.
I think he has a flashback of him, but he doesn't mention him.
Yeah, he has a flashback, and we hear on the intercom that Mirio has to go to the office, and I'm like, ooh, he got in trouble. But that's what. But and then they're wondering, well, why they call you to the office? I think it was Najiri was saying that, and Mirio does this really cringe joke, and he goes, he's like, gotta go see. And I was like, oh my.
Did you like it?
I liked it. But
I liked it too.
It was like funny, but bad joke funny. No, it's just like, ugh.
That's my style, though, so.
Yeah. Gary and I are team cringe.
Yeah. Just like, come on, man. But yeah, and well, he's like, okay, that was unfunny, whatever. And they cut to they're sitting on the chair across All Might, and All Might basically asks Mirio to introduce Night-Eye to Deku, and then we do get a flashback, I believe, and I can't remember what was it. I know there was 2 flashbacks right back to back right there too, so I'm trying to remember which flashback it was, because one was talking about Mirio and the other one was talking about was it Sir Night-Eye?
So the only the first flashback about Mirio was when Nezu was talking to All Might before All Might had met Izuku, saying like, there's someone here his grades aren't great, but he fits your personality, smiling all the time, even when he's not doing well or when he's failed a test. There's always laughter in the hallway. Don't you think that suits you? And then I don't remember another flashback. Maybe it was a Boo one.
Yeah, there was one right before he does that one where he talks about, if I didn't pick Midoriya, and there goes to that flashback about Mirio. But flashbacks aside, we do cut back to the students, and we just see Denki and Mineta brushing their teeth. Well, I think Denki's just brushing his teeth.
I think Mineta's brushing his as well, because I was impressed that the voice actor got the teeth brushing in with the lisp. I thought this bit was weird though, because I'm sure they've all got bathrooms or at least sinks in their bedrooms and on the floor.
Even on the common area.
Yeah, and then in the bathroom there's like a proper a bathroom, I think. But it's weird that they would brush their teeth then and walk all the way out to the tables.
Yeah.
It would make the setting would make more sense if it was done in the bathroom.
Like something I'll do, like if I'm spending the night with friends or whatever, and I'll just like come talk to them while I'm brushing my teeth, like into the common area, just because I don't want to miss the conversation, and everyone's not going to pile into the bathroom. So anyway.
I wonder if that's a boy thing, because I would never. Like, what if someone saw you spittle toothpaste saliva?
Yeah, I have like a time when I was like doing that, and my one of my friends took a picture, and so there's just like a big stream of the spittle. It's really bad.
Oh my gosh.
That's just, I know I'm a bad, gross person, but anyway.
Okay, so, dental hygiene aside.
Actually, there was one more thing I wanted to say about, not about myself, but.
Oh, then you're going to give some toothbrushing tips or something, but go ahead.
Yeah, I've revealed too much. Anyway, my thought on that, like in the English, I had a hard time understanding them talking. So it helped me a little bit to watch the subtitles in the Japanese. So I don't know if it was just me or what it was, but.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly it was a little tough. I think I did have the subtitles on when I was watching the English dub anyways. I always do that just in case I don't hear anything. And they've actually done the English transcripts now, because they used to do the subtitles, but it would be the Japanese subtitles with the English going on, and it would just not be the same. But now I've noticed that it looks like they've just finally decided to put the English transcript with the closed caption instead of the Japanese transcript with the closed caption, because it was kind of annoying, because they would say something different and you would read something different from on the closed captions.
Mm-hmm.
But that aside, we see Midoriya. He's ready to go, and he runs out and runs ahead of you see Todoroki and Bakugo. They're walking out talking about how on the weekends they had to go to retake the provisional exams, and Todoroki's trying to strike up a conversation, and Bakugo's like, shut up. And Todoroki's like, we need to catch up to them as soon as possible, and Bakugo's like, I said shut up, walk behind me, damn it. What is wrong with this guy? And then there's another part that I really hate is we see how they're talking about how they're gonna go to study with Momo today, and they ask Kirishima and Todoroki or Tokoyami if they would like to come, and they're saying, no, we're busy, and it says that everyone's got their own lifestyles. It's different in the sub. I just noticed that, because in the sub they're just talking about, I think it's Mineta saying something about food.
Mm-hmm.
And on the dub, oh man. On the dub, Mineta goes, I'll be studying some websites. And I'm like, oh no, shut up. Don't.
In the manga, though, he did insinuate that he would spend his day with himself. So I guess maybe it was just trying to be more true to the
They're not
material.
being very subtle about this, man. In the sub, I just noticed that they didn't even mention that. I just and in the dub, he actually says, I'll be studying some websites. I'm like, gross.
The dubs does seem to be a bit more lewd though, because I think I remember right at the start of series 1 when Bakugo and his I don't know what they are, primary school friends were going out, and his primary school friends wanted him to go and do some semi-criminal activities, and he was like, no, I can't be a hero if I get caught. In the subbed, I believe it was, one of the friends said about pickpocketing because he had those long spindly finger quirk, but then in the dubbed he said something about going and harassing some women.
Oh my
in
gosh.
the dub version.
Yeah.
Is it?
I
I haven't remember. I don't remember.
I mean, what do you think that says about their review on the American audience?
I mean, if they wanted to make Mineta more trash, I mean, they're going the right direction. So, I mean,
One thing too about that part is that they call, or Denki refers to Momo as Yao Momo, which we see Hagakure referred to her as before. So I thought that was kind of cute. I'm talking in the Japanese for sure. I can't remember if they said it in the English.
I don't think so, because I think that's something else I just noticed too, is that he called her Yamomo, and I think they just said Momo in the English
I think so,
version.
too.
Oh, that is cute.
But yeah, we do get Deku and Mirio in the next scene, and Mirio's kind of explaining that Night Eye is a kind of a serious person, and then Deku gets all tense about it. He's like, no, just relax. He's not that serious, but still, you gotta be serious. And then he tells him one thing is like, there's one thing you gotta do, and he's like, oh, what's that? He's like, you gotta make him laugh.
Are they going up the stairs yet?
Yeah, I believe that's where it's at. It's just
Okay.
that's what I'm talking about.
My comment is like the animation, they like spent all their money on the stairs.
On the spinning stairs, yeah, I noticed that too.
Well, there's a ton of them, and they're 3D, like part 3D. So I'm like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, they're like, look, guys, it was worth waiting a year.
Yeah,
I made the same comment about the reflection in the water of them talking and stuff last week, and I was just like, they're really trying to make it seem like, look how good the animation's been, guys. We're Bones, come on. And then also talking about Bones, Studio Bones, this is now their longest running series that they've done. They surpassed Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood with because I think that was only 64 episodes.
Right.
And this is episode 65, so this My Hero makes it the longest running Bones production.
Woo! I was pretty surprised to hear that too, because they're a pretty famous studio. So kudos.
Yeah, but I'm glad they're getting a longer season. I mean, even if it takes longer, like I like the way they're doing it now. Like even if we wait a year, I don't really care, just because I don't want pointless filler.
Right.
Like Boruto right now. But yeah, we're talking about the stairs here. Mirio's like, Sir Night-Eye is through that door, and it's like a regular looking office door too. Like it's nothing special. It just reminds me of an elementary school door that they had with the little vents on the bottom. But we see that in the office we see character Bubble Girl. Well, she's new to the anime watchers, and she's explaining about an incident that occurred and about how there were evidence of blood and stuff, and that was the Kamino incident they're talking about, right? Yeah. And she was trying to talk about how it was the League of Villains, and you see Sir Night-Eye, which I hate this part so much, but he's like, I think there's no future without energy or humor. And he goes, that report was so long. And she was like, I was trying not to mess it up. And you just see her kind of like, no, please stop, which was really creepy. And Midoriya busts the door open. And
a bit of before we continue more, just a bit of backstory for anime only watchers who maybe don't know. Bubble Girl, her character and her quirk were designed by a fan. Horikoshi had a competition, and the person that obviously won got their design in. So Bubble Girl was created by a fan, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure that fan is like feels pretty good. They got an anime character.
Oh yeah, it would be all I would talk about.
Yeah, I'd be like, I've plateaued. I've peaked, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we see that Deku walks in and she's getting tickled on like a tickle machine, which is like really weird. Somebody call HR right now, because that's I don't know.
They have one of those at my job. What are you talking about?
That made me feel uncomfortable, honestly. Yeah. And I don't remember it being that impactful in the manga. I just remember this just seems more like,
I think it was like one panel. It wasn't much.
Yeah, this is like 50 Shades of Grey, like creepiness Night Eye is given.
Yeah, it was really drawn out.
50 Shades of Blue.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Blue, but oh my gosh, poor Bubble Girl. But we see that Night Eye just kind of gives him this death stare at Deku, and Deku, this is the intense gaze in person. And he's kind of remember what Mirio says. Deku's trying to say, oh, I want to become stronger. He's like, my selfishness ideals brought me here. He's like, from now on, he opened my door. And you see him talking about humor, and you see him fixing his hair, and he's like, what's he gonna do? And he goes, in order to be the #1 hero, and he puts on an All Might face, and you get he says, I'm Izuku Midoriya. And the one thing I wanted, I don't know if it's in the sub, Gary, but did they use All Might's voice actor for that part too?
No, it was
It was
the regular voice actor for Midoriya. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, yeah, because in the dub it was Chris Sabat's voice.
It was? I thought it.
Yeah, that was a really good Chris Sabat impression that Justin Briner did, because
I
it
listened
sounded
to it
pretty on.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I
go
listened
ahead.
to it 2 times, and I'm pretty sure it's Justin Briner.
That's a really good impression, if you ask me.
Because you can tell, it still sounds like him a little bit.
Yeah, it sounded pretty close, honestly.
What do you think, Sophie? Did you think it was him, or did you not watch the English?
I didn't even think about it, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just something that I didn't catch it the first time. That's why I was like, I caught it the second time I watched it, and I was like, is that Chris Sabat? That's pretty spot on. Well, good job, Justin Briner. And the sheer shock in Mirio's face, and the really funny part is you see Bubble Girl slow-mo laugh. It's
yeah.
Oh. I was like, oh man.
And while she's like slow-mo laughing, we don't get a slow-mo of Mirio, but we can see him while Izuku's going through it, and you're like, no!
Yeah. And we see cut to Deku, who's practicing All Might's expression on the mirror.
Yeah.
He talks about he's like, I'm not very good at making people laugh. So if this doesn't work, and you see Night Eye just looks at him, he's like, are you mocking All Might? It's like, uh-oh. And then in the dub, we get Mario goes, no, he's not funny, and that's how the episode ends.
Yes.
That's like the best ending.
Yeah, he's like, no.
I like
That's the end of the
choice.
episode.
Oh, sorry. I like the choice they made in the English, because he says he's not funny. In the Japanese, he just says, oh no, it's not funny. Like, not he's not funny. Just to pick that apart a little bit, but I liked what they did.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the last week's episode as much as you two, but I'm glad that I think it was a perfect amount of time that we spent with Shigaraki overhauling their cones. Like, if it had been the whole first half, I think that if you really didn't like that stuff, it would have put you off watching the second half. And if you really loved that first half and you got to the second half and you were back to the kids, you could have been disappointed and maybe been less likely to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the timings for each were very good.
Agree.
Yeah.
It was very balanced. And
yeah. Well, I was gonna say it felt like the first part was more heavy than the second part. Like, I felt like a lot more happened in the first part.
Technically, a lot more did happen.
Well, yeah.
Right. A lot happened, but still in the second half you had like the kids learning about the work studies, then Midoriya teaming up with Mirio, kind of, and then him meeting Night Eye. So that's kind of a lot too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess because it's not so heavy, it
Right.
feels a bit slower, even though they pack so much into these episodes about it feeling rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What would you guys rate the episode, starting with James?
I give it a 7 out of 10.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's better than last week's episode, I'll say that. I did not like last week's at all. It was just kind of... What's up?
Do you have a favourite moment?
Of this episode, as cringy as it was, to gotta go see was like bad funny, but I liked it.
That was your favorite?
It was like bad joke funny, so that's why I said it was cringe, but like you're just like, ugh. But that, and maybe the emo Might thing. That was probably my favorite part of the whole episode.
Gary, what would you rate it?
Actually, this would be probably like a 9.5 out of 10 for me. The reason being, like, the scene with Overhaul in meeting with the League of Villains. That's like one of the quintessential moments in the manga for me. And seeing it animated well, I can't complain. And plus, I really like Mirio, so like getting a little bit of his character involved too in the second half. Yeah, I'm pleased.
It was cool seeing so much more of his personality this episode,
Mhm.
definitely.
hmm
It made me the teeny weeniest bit sad that he wasn't the the series protagonist instead of Izuku.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just a teeny weeny bit.
I agree with that. Like, I've thought about that like over time, and I feel like if he was the main protagonist, maybe I wouldn't feel the same. You know what I mean about
Yeah.
him.
What was your favourite moment or favourite moments?
Probably have a couple. Like, I did like the drama with the League, and when Big Sis Meg dies, like, I don't like that happened, but that's the first time we saw the stakes raised like that. We haven't seen a character, like a main character, die yet.
Yeah.
And I know, well, Big Sis Meg's not a main character, but it's the biggest character that's died in the series. So, like, I think that was something the series was kind of missing before this. Like, it always felt like everyone was gonna get away fine and unscathed. But yes. So I didn't like. I'm not saying I liked that Big Sis Meg died, but I liked that kind of the raising of the
I'll
stakes.
say the weight of it, maybe.
Right.
Because I'll say, honestly, the weight here felt more than the manga, because I was just, it felt like it had a lot more to it.
Yeah, and seeing everybody react with emotions behind it as opposed to just seeing, it on paper, it did make it more impactful, and I'm glad that they did it the way they did, and not just like you were talking about before with the Overhaul's gang, how they just kind of brush off the guy dying, like, he was a disposable member, and they didn't feel that way about Meg. And you could see that they actually care about each other, even though they're villains.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the initial meeting of Midoriya and Night Eye. Like, that was something else I like about the manga a lot too. The Bubble Girl part of it, obviously, I don't want to like trash it like a lot, but that made me a little uncomfortable.
It was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, but the rest of it is pretty funny. Like, it's like, it's satisfying to see that Midoriya and Horikoshi and the animators, everybody recognizes that Midoriya is not a funny character. He's just not.
No, he's not.
So I like that part of it too. So he's got his moments, but it's unintentional.
Yeah.
I thought I just heard somebody screaming Meg for a minute. I was like, oh, that person feels pretty bad about Meg's death. But
I don't know what that was. That was my heart.
That was Jai just sneezing downstairs.
Oh.
Loud sneeze.
Oh, okay. That was pretty loud. Anyways, did anybody catch the preview by any chance?
I don't.
Or did y'all watch the preview?
I skipped it because
Yeah.
I just usually watch the next one. You know what I mean?
Okay, there's really nothing special. It just talks about how he tries to introduce how Night Eye kind of questions Midoriya, and there's really not much. That's just kind of the test he's going to give him. He's wondering what kind of test this is. And the title for next week's episode is Boy Meets. So. ...
Yeah, I saw that little part of it. Sophie, what did you think of the episode?
I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Though I liked the amount of time they spent with the Yakuza as opposed to the students. When we got back to the students, it did feel a bit, I don't know, maybe doddery. I'm also, though I like Izuku, I don't look forward always to seeing his scenes because I think he's a little bit boring sometimes. Mirio was great. Mirio was a highlight. But my favourite thing was it was a really small thing. So I'm glad that you mentioned it, James, when you went through. The music, when he was introducing Overhaul, I know it was just a small thing, but the music was so good. I felt like it was such a good way of boosting that introduction and then making you feel like more like, oh, this guy's really cool straight away when you'd only really just seen him and his like Mary Poppins gloves.
Yeah, it's sort of like more modern cartoonish. I don't know how to explain it. Like if a lot of like the Cartoon Network shows and stuff, they have sort of like hip hop beats now and like sort of chip tunes in there. So it's kind of, it felt more Western to me. And like I haven't noticed if they, if that's really a new track or not. I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, I think it's new, but it did so much for the atmosphere, and it wasn't even playing for very long.
Yeah.
So that was probably my favourite bit. Yeah, there was a lot of bits that I liked, but I don't know why I really liked that music so much, but I just appreciated the effect that it had.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it enough that I wrote it down to talk about it.
Yeah, just to put my like 2 pennies in for the Bubble Girl bit. I was very meh about it. I know it was drawn out, but I wasn't hugely bothered. And we spoke about this before we started recording. But I don't. If you're not on Twitter, you may not have seen the rubbish storm that was the reaction to Nejiri's breast enlargement from the manga. They didn't do that with Bubble Girl, which I was very appreciative of, because if they had done that with her outfit choice, it would have been way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that outfit with like super enlarged breasts.
Right.
Terrible.
And one thing I appreciate too is the color choice for her. Like it makes it a little less, like if it was just a flesh tone, like her skin was flesh tones, it would be a little more obnoxious or disturbing, I should say. But
yeah, they did the blue. Skin. Yeah, they did the blue bubblegum color, which, I mean, it's not a flavor, it's just the color of it.
Right.
That's the flavor.
I was going to say, there's this flavored milk called Chateau that has a bubblegum flavor, and the milk is blue. So that's what I remember when I think of Bubble Girl, is that like, milk is a bubblegum flavored milk. It's pretty good, I'll say that.
It's like that Left Jedi milk.
Yeah, it was that color. the moof milk, I think.
What are you guys putting in your milk to give it this flavour? And I don't know, a shot of diabetes in each one.
Yeah.
Oh no, that is very sugary, but it's very delicious.
It's like
not for your pancreas.
Yeah.
Which creates insulin.
Anyway, what?
Does anyone have anything extra to add about the anime?
Ooh. Not really. I look forward to more. Like this is like so far so good. They did it justice, I felt.
Well, I was gonna say, as much as I hated that tickling scene, I did like the slow-mo laugh before the end of the episode where everything slowed down.
Yeah, I know. It
was pretty funny.
Like, I see what they're trying to do there, but I guess I'm like too curmudgeon-y to be like like to enjoy it.
Like, yeah, I didn't like the scene, but that little part of it was, I got a chuckle out of it.
Cool.
Somebody please call the HR department on Night Eye, please, someone.
Okay, so that is the end of our anime review.
Okay, now on to the manga. We have chapter 247 entitled Status Report. It begins with Endeavor's daughter. What's her name?
Fuyumi, or I can't even pronounce it.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that. Okay, she's looking out that window like we kind of got at the end of the last chapter, with the spread of all the characters. And then we see outside of Endeavor's agency, and he's saying, "I'll be supervising you boys myself." And then it shows him with doom around him and surrounding him. He says, "But before we start, you two got to tell me about yourselves. I don't know much about you. Obviously talking about Midoriya and Bakugo. So Endeavor continues, what are you working on now? Tell me what you want to achieve. Midoriya says, I want control over my power and to have freedom of movement even while at max performance. Then Endeavor says, you've got super strength that wrecks your own body, right? Midoriya says, yes. I discovered a method to manage it without hurting myself. And then it shows like a flashback of Endeavor seeing him at the sports festival where he did break his fingers.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just thought that sentence was hilarious because it sounds like it's such a low bar, isn't it? Yes, I discovered a method so I can manage my power without hurting myself.
Yeah.
What a low bar.
That's like what I like have to say to my therapist, you know what I mean?
I didn't hurt myself today. Yeah.
I discovered a method to manage it without hurting myself. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's progress. Anyway, sorry. Anyway. Okay, so Midoriya continues, like, he's looking nervous again, and he's like, but I've reached the point where, how do I put this? And then Endeavor just kind of blankly looks at him. It's like, I've got, like, a secondary power where it manifests in a different form. And Bakugo's, like, eye is pulsating or whatever on the side looking at him. So Endeavor says, show me.
I was going to say, in that panel with it looks like he's got the puppy look with his head cocked sideways.
Yeah, I get what you
He's
mean.
like,
Yeah, there's some interest. And then in the fourth one where he says, show me, he looks like a typical jock, like a high school jock with like squirrel teeth, you know? It looks kind of funny. Anyway, so we see him working on that different power, which is that black whip coming out of his hand, and it just ploops out. Kind of
I love that sound effect. It's so pathetic.
Yeah, it's he can't do much with it. He says, by really focusing, I can just manage this much, but that's all I can handle for now. If I let any more out, I lose control. And then Endeavor thinks and then says, you said max performance? What's that mean for this ability? And Midoriya says, well, the true form of this one is more like a whip. I want to turn it from a liability into a real weapon. I think I can apply some concepts from my other new move, Air Force. Oh, I should explain that one. And here we go. So
boy.
Yeah, he explains as Endeavor looks on intently, and Shoto is just kind of there, and Bakugo looks angry. Okay, so it's got the frantic lines around the speech bubbles too to kind of show that he's muttering. Okay, he says, it's a long-range attack that strikes with air blasts, but it demands more power output than my body's currently capable of handling. If we assume my base limit is 10 to 15%, then I'd say that Air Force requires about 20%, so I have to go into the danger zone a little. Operating at 20% doesn't actually damage my body, but it's painful enough to limit my movement. To that point, I've trained to boost my power for an instant before bringing it right back down. If I could apply that concept to Black Whip, then at least in theory, I'd actually be able to use it in battle. But to start with, making those precise modulations to power output while moving around is already pretty tough, and adding a whole other element to that would be more than my brain can handle. Despite my efforts, I haven't had much luck training to run those parallel processes while also moving my body in any real way.
Well done, Gary.
Oh, I got to breathe a second there. Wow. Okay, so then... Okay, here we go. And then we have Burnin, and she's like, too long! I'm lost! And then Todoroki says he's analyzing himself, I guess. And Bakugo's like, shut up! And then Endeavor says, so you're hoping to make that tricky balancing act feel like second nature? And Midoriya's like, yes. And Burnin's like, he understood? He ain't number one for nothing.
Oh, I hate her.
I think that's my page of the whole...
Yeah, I like her face in those two panels.
Yeah, she's pretty wild. Okay, so next we have Endeavor kind of nodding his head down. Either that or he's falling asleep. I'm not sure. But he's remembering in terms of pure power, his quirk's comparable to All Might's. And then he closes his eye and opens it, and he says, "You suffered due to your quirk, so you're one of us." Gooble gobble, gooble gobble. Well, he doesn't say that part. I'm adding that. Anyway, he says, "Next up is you." And then Midori says, "Who's us?" after he says, "You're one of us."
And he like
So-
breaks the fourth wall or whatever it is and looks at the camera.
Yeah, he's looking at
He's like, huh? Anyway, the "You're one of us." There's a old movie called Freaks, and there's a acrobat that marries one of the members of the freak show, and so like around a wedding feast, the rest of the freaks are yelling, one of us, gooble gobble," and it's like a meme that's lasted like 80 years. It's pretty, I don't know, it's one of my favorite movies. So anyway, that's what that reminded me of.
I've never seen Freaks. I keep meaning to watch it, but
I don't know where you can find it,
yeah.
other than getting it on DVD, but
Piracy? No, I'm joking.
Oh.
I'll probably go buy the DVD. Don't worry, guys.
you have to edit that. Okay.
Anyways, we cut to Bakugo. He's like, unlike him, I came here to figure out what I can't do. Oh, okay, Mr. Big Shot here. And Vernon's like, ooh, big talk, little man. And Bakugo's, grab it. Why are you even here? Oh, I'm on standby. He's like, I'm serious, damn it. My explosion. I could pull off anything I want it to. You only got that one quirk, but it's totally the strongest. That's him saying that, yeah. And we cut the flashback of him messing with his quirk as a kid. And he says, but then I learned that a strong quirk's not enough to make the strongest guy around. Not enough to make me the strongest guy around. And I'm trying to figure out which flashback that's from. Is that from just the latest fight they had?
From when he beat Izuku.
Yeah,
And he was looking
Schoolyard,
down at him
yeah.
afterwards. Yeah, like, I won, you didn't, loser.
And we cut back to again. He's like, we're taking this 4-0, no casualties. The strong don't settle for anything less. And that was that training thing. What was that training thing called? I can't remember.
Oh, class 1A versus 1B.
Yeah, was that? Yeah. And he's like, to surpass number 1, I came to find out what I'm missing. And Endeavor's like, this kid, I see. Sure. And you see Endeavor just kind of do a quick 180. Let's get to it. There's a Todoroki and me. And we cut to Endeavor kind of turning around. He's like, you're here to master the flash fire, Shoto.
I know
Like,
what
he
you
just cut-
need.
Yeah, he's like, I know what's best. And Shoto's been pretty calm. He's like, all the quirk training you beat into me as a kid, I've put into practice with my right side. Thinking back, it's no wonder since I couldn't escape my own hatred of you. Then I got into UA. Competing alongside these two and everyone else really opened my eyes. And they got Deku and Bakugo on two different sides. And he's like, Endeavor, which he doesn't even call him dad. He's like, I'm your dad at home. I'm Endeavor in here. No, I'm just kidding. He's like, Endeavor, after everything, I'm going to do exactly what you always wanted. Oof. And we cut back to the sports festival. He's like, that may be good enough. I think that is from the sports festival, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, that may be good enough while you're a school kid, but you'll reach your limit soon enough, is what Endeavor was telling him. He's like, work at my side after you graduate. I will guide you down to the path to supremacy. And we cut back to Todoroki. He's like, but please understand, the man I admire is the one Mom and I watched on the TV back then.
Oh, what a diss. This is a bigger diss than the
He just
slap.
hard. Even goes like, all the quick training you beat into me. I was like, oof.
Todoroki grew some balls over the last few arcs.
And he's calmed down a lot too. Like,
He seems less stressed out about like Endeavor in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hates him less.
I
was
know he's
curious.
had to.
Oh, sorry. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, carry on.
I was just gonna ask you, like, when I read that, when he says the man I admire is the one Mom and I watched on the TV back then, is that a reference to All Might?
Yeah.
Or is that okay? Because I was thinking it could also mean Endeavor, like Endeavor they saw on TV, not the Endeavor they knew at home. You know what I
Oh
mean?
no, it's all my because there was that scene where baby Todoroki and his mum were watching All Might on TV, and he's like, I
Okay.
really like him, but Dad wants me to be the hero, and she's like, you can be the sort of hero you want to be. You don't have to be like your father.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was wondering that too, because like what he was talking about, like the way Endeavor used to be too, or something like that.
Right.
But no, yeah, you're right, Sophie.
Okay. Good job, Sophie.
Thanks. We can talk about it more at the end, but I'm really
Sure.
impressed. Like, I haven't read this chapter before now, but I'm really impressed with Todoroki. Like, I wonder if it's because he lives in the dorm, so he's not living with his dad. But he's had a lot of character development, but he's still being pretty ballsy for someone that
Hmm.
used to beat him and his siblings.
Yeah, and like if you remember how he was earlier, he was always kind of like, oh, I'm just so good at all this, and like he lost the provisional license exam and stuff like that, and you kind of see like he kind of grew up like mentally, I guess too, in a way.
Yeah. So we go
But
on
He
to the
didn't have as oh sorry.
no, carry on.
He didn't have as far to go as like Bakugo, but like yeah, you can see his development and it seems pretty natural.
So we go on to the next page, and as soon as I turned over and I saw this, I thought the fangirls and boys are going to go mad. I remember when there was the he and Bakugo were training, and there was always beautiful pictures of Todoroki, like drawings of Todoroki with like that stardust in the background. This is another picturesque image they're going to love. And he's pulling his like power fist pose, saying, "As a fledgling hero, in order to become a man worthy of the title, I came here of my own free will. I'm here to use you for my own reasons. Sorry, this isn't going how you want, number one. So let's stop that father-son crap in front of my friends." Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh no, he didn't. Yeah.
And then now we get an Endeavour flashback, very flashback heavy. And he's thinking back to the notorious mealtime with that slurp we just discussed. And as a hero, this Endeavour guy is pretty darn amazing. But I'm not ready to. Oh no! So this is this is Todoroki's flashback. As a hero, this Endeavour guy is pretty darn amazing. But I'm not ready to give you for abusing Mum. What sort of dad are you going to be? That's what I want to find out. So do we, Todoroki. So do we. And everyone, even Flaming, who I don't like, is just quiet. I like how the two boys, because they know about the history, they've got the ellipses and she's just got her little question mark. But imagine being in her situation and you don't know any of this. You just see Endeavour as like some like kick butt, really strong, amazing hero that you want to admire, and then his son's giving him all this jip.
Yeah.
No wonder she's questioning.
I would just like take a step backwards.
I was on my phone, guys. I wasn't really listening. Awkward. And then so this is Endeavour thinking. Since he was willing to come here, I thought the boy's heart was open and ready to accept me. What a fool I was! I had it all wrong. But he doesn't let any of that inner turmoil show. It's just right. I'll be watching over you, Free, as a hero. And then we go to rescue, evaluation, battle. Oh no. Rescue, evacuation, battle. People come to heroes for those three basic things. Normally, when a hero sets up an agency, he decides whether to empathize, rescue, or battle, one or the other. My agency isn't picky. We tackle all three. You've got to know your home turf like the back of your hand so that you pick up on the smallest disturbance. You've got to get to the scene faster than anyone. Keep damage to a minimum, and if civilians get close, blast some heat to make them back off.
Oh gosh.
That's your starting point. Keep all that in mind while acting at top speed and make those processes your MO. A little bit of Izuku's thoughts. Parallel processes, basically. Sure, nerd.
He's like, I know this already.
Endeavour continues. Think about what you're building up as you go. At UA, it's effort. And here, it's experience. You need a mountain's worth. So your job here is to conquer that experience barrier. This winter, show me that you can, ... just once, beat a villain faster than me. And those last 3 speech bubbles, I feel like sound like there's something from a movie, like a film trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. I was just thinking about the mountain's worth of experience and thinking about unpaid internships. Just like, oh, great, this is literally an unpaid internship. But anyways.
This is his second mountain metaphor. His first one, when he was saying that, then we saw a picture of him climbing over the mountain to achieve his goals, and he got there and he just saw, oh my, this is his second mountain metaphor. And I think it might just be his second metaphor in general.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I thought mountains were Mount Lady's thing, but I guess he's claiming that too.
Mm.
But yeah, I was gonna say about the last panel, it just has JoJo energy. It just reminds me of that one JoJo's panel that everyone always shares that has 2. I can't remember which characters are the ones that are standing off the top of my head, but I don't know. It just looks like that to me for some reason.
We semi talked about it, the bits as we were going through, but I really liked that small glimpse that we got into Endeavor's mind when he was thinking about Todoroki coming here and his hopes and his dreams. So we do know that in his mind, like, he wants to be doing better or be seen as being a better person.
Mm-hmm.
It was only a small paragraph, but I really appreciated it. So if we start going round, tell us what you thought, your favourite bits and your least favourite bits. And we will start with Gary.
Okay. No, I liked it overall. I liked Endeavor speaking to each student. Like, it's not all about Todoroki. He is giving some attention to the other 2. I like when I first got to the page where Izuku like gives that long explanation, I got like overwhelmed. It's like, this is why I don't read like regular books, because it's like too much. It's too much. But anyway, no.
You did well reading that. My dyslexic mind was like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, hopefully I did it okay. But I liked it after thinking about Midoriya and how he is and how he overthinks everything, and I also liked about Endeavor that he was actually paying attention, which I kind of thought that was going to happen with the way he's looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
But I still kind of like that. Like, he is taking it very seriously, even though, again, it's not Todoroki. I don't think there was anything I didn't really like. Bakugo's is kind of self-explanatory and it moves by quickly, but then Todoroki, like, it felt like, honestly, it didn't feel like he was treating Endeavor as a father. Like, he was treating it very business-like. But he does, there are parts where he does get a little personal too, of course, but yeah, I like that he's standing up to Endeavor, and it feels like Endeavor is kind of like half hurt and half like understands, like, he doesn't deserve anything from him, I don't know. But overall, I liked it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. James, what did you think?
Overall, I liked it a lot, actually. I liked Midoriya's muttering. I felt that he did a lot of explaining. I always like seeing that, because everyone's like, what's going on?
He hasn't done that in a while, right?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything like that in a while. That's why I was like, I think I like it. That's why.
Yeah. And I like the animation around it, like the lines dropping, like, and shading his hair, I don't know.
Yeah. And there's something too that I've been mentioning recently, is like how Bakugo has had very little to say these past few chapters. He just doesn't say much, honestly, like, besides occasional shut up and what'd you say, you bastard, and all that crap like that. But like when he goes and tries to explain what he wants to do, his felt a little short, you know.
But then he was never a wordsmith. He's never been a man of many words. He's just kind of a
Yeah,
shouty
that's
guy, but we
true.
know that he thinks a lot in his mind that he just doesn't share. He's a very inner monologue chap. I'd like to get an inner monologue of Bakugo one day, actually. If we had
Yeah.
like a chapter thoroughly just from his perspective and what he's actually thinking about as opposed to the nonsense that he shouts, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean it's just because like you know we've been away from the kids for so long, so I kind of he doesn't really say much usually. And I like Todoroki. He just dissed his dad pretty hard in front of everybody, and Endeavor deserves that anyways to be dissed in public. But
What did you? Oh,
uh-huh.
I was gonna ask, what did you think of like Bakugo? And this is to both of you, I guess, but him saying like he came to figure out what he can't do.
Cocky.
Taki.
Yeah, like I mean he just sounds like what Brennan was saying. Oh, big talk, little man.
Yeah, I
I
guess
don't
go ahead.
know you go, sorry.
I was just gonna say like he wants to learn his limitations, like you know what I mean, in a sense of like how to improve upon them, like 'cause, I don't know, because he's so used to winning, like he wants to. It almost seems like he wants to see himself lose or his failings or shortcomings to improve
Yeah.
upon them.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like half humility. I don't know how I can
Yeah.
get such a different read on that.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that he's just, because he doesn't really have any social skills, I think he's just a complete idiot with words. And I
Uh-huh.
think what he meant by he wants to find out like what he can't do, he wants to push his limitations more because we know that he realizes that he's been too cocky and arrogant from what he said to that wee kid. Like that, I need to stop saying we on this podcast because I look back and I think, oh, people don't know Scottish slang. But when he was speaking to that like little kid with the whole Todoroki thing, he was like, you won't see your own flaws if you're just beating down other people. So he knows he's got flaws. I think he just wants to find out what his main flaws are so he can work on them rather than just sticking to the stuff that he's good at. Like with like Tokiyami, where All Might said like you're relying on your one things too much. You need to do more than just rely on your like long range quirk. And then he started thinking about moves he could use for like the short range. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what Bakugo's doing. He wants to find his limitations more, exactly like you said, Gary, but he's a pooper with words. And so it turns out making him seem like a more of a poo than he was. I said poo a lot because I don't want to swear, but he is making him seem like a worse person than he means to be.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
can see
and
that now. Yeah.
and he kind of says that toward the end of that page where he says that he learned that a strong quirk's not enough to make him the strongest guy around. Like he recognizes he's not the strongest,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Talking on the Bakugo bit, when Endeavour he says, this kid, I see, we're being drawn to see all the parallels between Bakugo and Endeavour. Do you think Endeavour, from what Bakugo said, do you think he can see beyond what Bakugo means? And that's why he just thought, this kid, I see, and he just said sure as a response. Do you think he can see that, what Bakugo means behind what everyone else can see? Well, can hear because of the similarities.
Yeah, I agree. 'Cause, like even where he says to surpass number one, I came to find out what I'm missing. Like he wants to learn from Endeavor as opposed to like trying to exploit Endeavor's weaknesses. Like he wants to improve upon himself as opposed to like how to be better than that person. But he just words it the opposite way.
I'm glad we talked about that bit a bit more. That was a good conversation. James, what else did you have any other bits that you wanted to add?
Well, just that I liked it overall. There was really nothing that that was the least like or nothing like that. It was a pretty good chapter.
I had a question
Sure.
that I wanted to ask you both, but I've forgotten what it was. I guess my thoughts on the chapter. I feel like it's going to seem from this episode with the anime review as well, but I don't like Izuku. I do like Izuku. I just don't really like when people talk about their abilities and how they can improve. I like seeing action and character development. So his long monologue, I'm glad that you both liked it because I did not like it. Flaming, I don't know why I don't like her so much, but she just looks like a third generation Pokemon to me, and I don't like it.
Okay.
It's such a small thing to nitpick on, but every panel when she's on, I'm like, oh, go away with your shit hair. See, I swore. The thing that got me to swear was her hair.
I think you swore about size as well too last week.
She's got boring hair and everything. I like that, Gary, you had the same thoughts on Bakugo's little speech as I did. I think I already went on enough about Todoroki.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so impressed by him. He looks like he's got bulkier as well, actually, when we saw him from the side panel. His hair also needs a little bit of a trim. Yeah, a few people on Twitter have been down that, like, because it was kind of up in the air at the end of last chapter if we were going to focus on these three, and a lot of people are down that we are focusing on them. But I think it's too soon to know that we're definitely focusing on them. Other people could turn up. Other students could turn up when we get their character development. We don't know. But if we do get more here, hopefully that's enough character development for Todoroki and Bakugo that then we can move on to character development for other people, because they have still got some development that needs to go. So maybe if we can get rid of that a little bit more, then Horikoshi will focus on someone else.
I was thinking too that, like, it's going to have to be more than this three to deal with the oncoming threat. So I'm sure, like, as we see glimpses like we did last week where it showed all the characters toward the end, that each of them is going to be trained in their own ways to deal with the future threat, because the teachers knew something was coming. Endeavor knows a little more than most. But still, yeah, I think we're going to see some cross training, cross bleeding of the story.
If we had just like 4 chapters and on each like 2 pages we just saw, or like 1 page we just saw a little bit of what all the other students were doing, I'd be happy with that. I don't need a full story of who they're fighting and why they're fighting and what they're learning. Just little bits of what they're learning and some interactions that they're having, and then we go to other people. That'll be good enough for me. I don't need a whole arc focused on them, but something.
Yeah, I was like, we can save that for the anime.
What are you?
Oh, I want to see it now.
Oh no. 2022. No, I'm just kidding.
What were your thoughts on the end where Endeavor says, "Show me that you can just once beat a villain faster than me"? Like, the reason I asked that is like what I would look forward to is them fighting different like side villains or minor villains and seeing how Endeavor does it, and like having kind of a montage of that, and then seeing the kids like solve the problem their own way. I don't know.
It was a very Hawks line, wasn't it? Beat a villain faster than me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of I am looking forward to seeing them fighting, because I do like that, but I'm not the best at hypothesizing fights and things, more like character theories. So James and Gary, this is probably more up your end.
Yeah, and I overthink everything. I'm like Midoriya in that area, but I hope I'm less annoying. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of like what I said. Like, what I wish though, because it's kind of like, what's the word? Foreshadowing that they are gonna be fighting villains pretty much. But I would love to see like other aspects of his agency. Like he said, they focus on all 3 aspects. I'd love to see them address a natural disaster. I know we talk about that all the time, and Kendra talks about that all the time, that we just, an uninterrupted rescue arc. You know what I mean? That would be so nice.
Well, read evacuation. It doesn't sound like there's much you can do with evacuation, but there really is, and that would be a great place to put students. Like when you have like a major incident, you create like a cordon around the area, and it sounds like you're just separating people, but that cordon, there's a lot to do there, because you're assessing triage, you're like you're dealing with minor wounds a lot of the time. You've got press and stuff to deal with, and then there's people shrieking, being like, I need to go in there, I need to find so and so. So it is quite a lot to go on. So putting the students there for the evacuation bit, that would be pretty good. I'm not saying I want them to stay in the cordon for a whole few chapters, but it's an idea.
I'd like to like a situation where like Bakugo can't just blast his way out of it, because then he would put more lives in danger. I'd like to see something like that, like if they were trapped in a building trying to evacuate people, something to that effect.
He does need to work on that.
Right. And being a calming influence as opposed to screaming at at victims or what have you.
I'm trying to imagine him calming you down, and I feel like he would try and calm you down, but he would still be pulling his deaf face. You know, like when he tried to talk to those children with Best Jeanist, and they were just terrified anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, even if he tried his hardest, I don't think he could do it. He's a lot like Endeavor in that way.
I guess he did shout at those kids, but even if he said something really nice, it would terrify you. James, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to know how they would handle keeping civilians like from getting too close, other than blast some heat to make them back off.
Oh God, yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's a metaphor.
Oh, I don't know if it is.
We're talking about Endeavor here.
Yeah.
I do want to see them teaching Bakugo to keep damage to a minimum, because he's just so destructive.
Right.
I mean, even though his quirk is explosion, but I mean, you know, that's not a very good quirk to have if you're putting innocent lives in danger.
He is aware of it though, isn't he? Like when he was fighting Meatball, he used just the smaller explosions because he didn't want to hurt like Kirishima and Kaminari and the other like meatballs around him. So he is aware of the damage and he can make them smaller. But making them smaller and still pinpoint with an effect will probably be quite difficult.
I forgot about Meatball.
How could you forget about Meatball?
Now that you reminded me, I remember why I hated him, just because that's a disgusting quirk.
It
turns him into weird flesh things. I'm like, that's gross. Sorry. Anyways.
That's who Kyle Phillips like got unnerved by a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do want to comment quickly on that. Those 4 panels where Endeavor is telling them like those individual things. I mean, obviously he's saying it to all 4 or all 3 of them, but where he says you gotta know your home turf like the back of your hand, where you pick up the smallest disturbance, and that's kind of what Midoriya is focused on. It looks like just being observant about your surroundings, and then Bakugo is focused on getting there faster than anyone, which kind of makes sense for his personality. And then keeping damage to a minimum, and if civilians get close, blast some heat to make them back off. And Todoroki's remember that girl trying to take pictures. Those are like their individual things that they're probably going to want to, or probably going to be shown to be focusing on. And it's kind of like what I get out of that last one too, is like just kind of barking at them a little bit, being like, this isn't safe for you, like back off, you know, not necessarily shooting with fire. But anyway.
Cool. So if we don't have anything else to add, that's the end of the episode. And we
did
will.
It.
Yay!
Yeah.
And I think we'll have been going on for a little while at the end of this. So is everyone happy with no game?
Yeah, I was.
No, I'm good.
To do a game.
Cool.
Not that they're not fun.
Very fun. So, James, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @ThatOneWelderGuy, and you can find my other my podcast, Kicking Stones. This is on Twitter as well as Dr. Stone Pod. We talk about Dr. Stone.
Where are you up to at the moment?
Oh, we're about to hit chapters 12 and 13, I believe. We're doing 2 chapters right now a week. We're trying to catch up, but I'm like, there's so many chapters.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing just 2 chapters a week right now, but we're up to chapter 12, I think.
Mm-hmm.
For the second volume.
One of my favorite things about your One of my favorite things about your podcast is that you're James and your co-host is Rick. I don't know if you know who Rick James is, but
Yeah, we
Like a
kind of
swamp
made that
thing
joke.
back.
Yeah, we kind of made that joke as well.
I haven't heard that one yet. Then
I gush too much about Senku though on that on that part. I have to stop myself.
you got to pinch yourself.
Yeah.
Mm. And Gary, where can people find you?
I'm at Wrath of Giraffe on Twitter.
And you are slowly making it through Inktober with your comedy panels.
Oof, yeah, it's been hard. I've had more serious dark ones too, like the Tenya one.
Oh
They were
yeah.
amazing. I loved them all.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I only did one comic though with Ojiro. I got.
Anyone who's doing Inktober, I really admire, because I remember when we started the podcast, I created this there was a stage where there was those monthly questions and you would answer a question like your favorite character, your favorite fight, like what got you into this series every day. I created a monthly challenge for My Hero Academia and I got into like day 11 before I just kept forgetting it, and then I had to drop it because I wasn't doing it often enough.
Oh no.
And I made it.
That was fun though. I remember that was like when I was first interacting with you guys on Twitter, and I liked that.
Yeah. So I am Sophie. You can find me on Twitter at Chopper's Antlers. You can find the podcast www.mhapod.com. Email us myheropod@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at MHApod. We're also on Reddit and Tumblr, and I've just sort of revived the YouTube-ish, though I haven't added last week's up there yet. Sorry. Will do. I'm also trying to improve the website, but interneting is hard. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Ooh, it's a race to think of who can think of a round out first.
Oh man.
Oh, I can't word it in my head, but what's the Togeda joke? You can apply that.
To go to class.
To go to I can't say.
Or to go see.
To go beyond. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, to go. Go beyond plus ultra.
Ultra.